The following content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. It does not constitute means for diagnosis, healthcare advice, nor treatment. Make use of a qualified healthcare professional for such purposes.
All of the other SPSS assignments that we've done, we're just going to have our descriptive table, which has the mean and standard deviation, as well as the ANOVA analysis capture. So you'll want to be taking screenshots of your output and putting it into a Word document like with the chi-square. And then, just like usual, we'll be including stat notation and a description. And the PowerPoint goes into detail with that, so I can cover that at the end after we've accomplished everything. And then we'll also be conducting a paired samples t-test table that should be put into the Word document. And then we'll also end with the line chart and bar chart. So this is all part of this SPSS assignment for today, and it is the last one before our presentation. All right, in order for you to understand what an ANOVA actually means, I think I should go into detail about what we actually are analyzing. So what you just downloaded is data for lexical density. And what lexical density means is just how dense the words are in a response or a statement. So it's just looking at those verbal descriptive responses. So usually an ANOVA is conducted with quantitative research. And with quantitative research, we always develop hypotheses. So with this, we would keep in mind that we'd be looking for main effects, significant results. So what we would want is a main effect for part of speech. And that means that there would be more nouns and verbs that would be contributing to that density, that lexical density in those responses. And then we'd also wonder if there's a main effect for the question, the nature of the question, because this ties back into our reflection paper with those different question prompts. So that is what we'd be looking at there. And then with an ANOVA, we are always looking at an interaction as well, an interaction between those two factors, part of speech and question. So this is where we would see if lexical density depends on part of speech or question. So that is the kind of mindset that you would go in with the quantitative research analysis. So then the independent variables are the parts of speech and question, while the dependent variable is lexical density, the participant's lexical density. So it would be a 2x3 within subjects ANOVA. Once you have SPSS open up, you should have this pop up, and then you'll just need to click on New Database. And then we're going to go to File, where it says Import Data. And then you'll go to Excel. Okay, so we're going to Excel, and we're going to find the ANOVA lexical density Excel chart. That should be under Downloads, and then you'll just open that up. And then this will pop up, but we don't need to do anything with that. So we're just going to hit OK, and then it should populate like that. Okay, so first thing we need to do is start with our descriptives. So here we are going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and then Descriptives. All right, and then we're going to drag in all of our variables except for the case variable. So you're going to go like this. And you can always highlight all of them and move them that way. But I'm doing it one by one. All right, so this is what your box should look like. Everything above the case should be moved to the second box. After you've done that, we're going to go to options. We're going to disable the minimum and maximum, and we're going to check mark standard error mean. So this one right here. It should look like this. All right, so once we've checked standard error mean, we don't have minimum and maximum checked anymore. We're going to click continue, and then we're going to click OK. And this will pop up our descriptives table. So this is what your descriptive statistics table should look like. This is the first thing that you're going to copy and paste into your Word document. And this is important because it lists the mean and the standard deviation. So the next part is where we're going to go into the ANOVA analysis. All right, so now we're going to go to Analyze and then General Linear Model right here and Repeated Measures. This is what we want. So we're going to click on Repeated Measures and we need to label our factors. So the first thing that we do is we're going to do the first factor, which is part of speech, and we're going to label it. It's part of speech, but we're abbreviating it here. And the number of levels is 2. There are 2 conditions within that factor. And then we will add it. You'll click this button right there. So it will pop up into this box. Then we're going to label our second factor. You're welcome. And the number of levels will be 2. So it should look like this. Our second factor, of course, is the question, the type of question. Here, we're just going to put question and then 3 levels. And then we'll add that here. And then after that, we'll have to define the measure, the dependent variable. So we're going to go to this left-hand button, define, and we're going to click on that. All right, so here we're going to drag our columns into this box here. So let's see. We're going to start with our noun. We're going to move that there. Then our verb. And then we'll do the same with question 2 and question 3. So question 2 noun and question 2 verb. And then question 3 noun and question 3 verb. So it should look like this. So next thing we're going to do is go to options, and we want to know the effect size here. So we're going to check mark estimates of effect size. Once you've done that, we're good to go. So we'll just click continue, and then that part will be good. So then after that, we can go ahead and click OK. And this will generate our next table that we'll be using. So you can see that this pops up a lot of tables with a lot of numbers. The only thing you need to look at right here is the test of within subjects effects. That's our ANOVA that we want, that we're looking at. So you want to copy and paste this table into your Word document with your stat notation. You can see that the important parts for your stat notation are going to be the degrees of freedom, because that's going to go into your parentheses, and then you'll want your F value. The F value represents the ANOVA, so you'll want to indicate that, and then sig is just the P value, and the effect size is the partial eta squared. So let me go ahead and share the PowerPoint again so you guys can visualize this better. This table indicates the factors and the interactions. So you can see that part speech and question, those are the two factors. You do not need to worry about error part speech or error question or this part. You don't need to worry about that.
So just two notations then?
You'll need to do notation for part speech,
Yes.
part or question, and then the interaction, which is part speech by question. So within ANOVA, you'll have those stat notation for the true main effects and then the interaction. And you can see that this part speech, that's the first factor, the first main effect you want to describe. And then question is the second one. And then part speech by question, that's the interaction. So yes, that's what you want to do. All right, so this is just a blank template of that table, but it highlights the things that you want to look at. You want the degrees of freedom, the F value, the sig, and the partial eta squared. And when you are reporting your stat notation, just make sure to include the proper italics and spacing. So you want italics for the F, for the P, and for the partial eta squared. So the stat notation should look exactly like this. And then you'll just fill in the numbers. And then you'll want to have a description below your stat notation. It can be very simple, just one sentence for the first factor, one sentence for the second factor, and then one sentence for the interaction. Just stating there is a main effect or there is not for the first factor, for the second factor, for the interaction. That's the formula you should follow here. This just provides what that actually means. So if there is a significant main effect for part of speech, that would mean that there are more nouns than verbs, which contribute to lexical density. So that's how you would follow that description.